Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever it is, wherever you're at. This is the Dimich Report. Today we're going to focus on Mongol China and the rise of Mongol China as Genghis Khan, or Genghis Khan, however you wish to pronounce it, makes his mark on Central Asia in the early 1200s. His vast military and political successes allowing Khan to take the famous name, which is known as Universal Ruler, Genghis Khan. Khan's contributions were truly legendary as he took a band of nomads who grazed in the steppes and turned them into a fighting force. What are steppes? Treeless plains, as you should know from previous learnings that you'll see in an upcoming short video clip. They spent much of their time warring with one another until Genghis united them. Under his leadership, Mongol forces captured a vast empire and would go on to dominate Asia for the next 150 years. You'll see that their empire at the largest point expanded from the borders of Eastern Europe all the way to Korea, and which includes, and you can see that somewhere in there, their control includes part of Russia and Kiev and Moscow that we've talked about in earlier learnings. So what were some of the keys to their success? Well, they controlled the Silk Road and protected it, and their trade there flourished. The Mongols established peace and order within their domains. And if you go back to the back, you can kind of see here, this is, the bottom here is roughly where the Silk Road was running. So, and note the key, one major key, just like the Muslims, they practice religious toleration within their domains. So now let's take a look at a short video clip outlining the success of Khan and the vast Mongol rule.
Genghis Khan was one of the most feared historical figures in history that conquered a great part of the world and butchered many, many peoples.
Genghis Khan was ruthless, but he was also incredibly intelligent. When you look at what Genghis Khan was able to do, it was absolutely fascinating. Genghis Khan created the largest contiguous empire in all of human history.
The Mongols were an unbelievably effective military force.
The key of the Mongols' military success was their ability to move vast distances in very short periods of time. There would be news of the Mongols are coming, and then suddenly they were there. The principal battlefield tactic of the Mongols was to use their horse archers, who could gallop in, coming from nowhere, coming out of the dust clouds. It was like swinging flies. A fig standing army didn't know where they came from, and they didn't know where they went. It was impossible to fight because they didn't stand to engagement.
Genghis Khan was a military genius. In addition to this mighty cavalry that he commanded, he also employed psychological warfare.
The level of intimidation that the Mongolian horde has upon their enemy is something that is projected long before you ever see the dust rising from their horses.
Imagine the sheer fear. It was so great that women would rather take their own lives and jump off the tall walls of a city than being invaded and raped and butchered.
The Mongols were masters of the siege. They built great battering rams. They had huge engines drawn by dozens and dozens of oxen.
If you were a craftsman or engineer, your life would be spared.
As the Mongols moved into new zones, they learned the techniques of those zones. They want all the skill skills of the region that they're taking. So they learn the knowledge that they need to command the societies that they're moving into.
Once he had conquered and defeated the country or culture that he attacked, Genghis Khan assimilated them. He actually brought them into the greater empire. In Mongolia and Central Asia, he's considered a hero and a great unifier.
All right, so in the tradition of the top 10, in the tradition of the Late Show Top 10, let's take a look at the top 10 things that you may not know about Genghis Khan. Only in the Dimich Report, we don't necessarily have to do it like a top 10. We're just going to list the things. So let's take a quick look.
Here's tonight's top 10.
Here we go, number 1. Genghis wasn't his real name. The man who would become Genghis Khan of the Mongols was born on the banks of the Onan River sometime around 1162. And he didn't get his honorific name until 1206 when he was proclaimed leader of the Mongols during a tribal meeting. Number 2, he had a rough childhood. From an early age, Genghis was forced to contend with the brutality of life on the Mongolian steppe. And number 3, there is no definitive record of what he looked like, even though we have various artistic renderings, as you saw from the video, and you can see here on my screen. But for such an influential figure, very little is known about Khan and his personal life or even his physical experience. Number 4, some of his most trusted generals were former enemies. He had a keen eye for talent, and he usually promoted his officers on skill and experience rather than on class, ancestry, or even past allegiances. And number 5, he literally left the score unsettled. Khan often gave other kingdoms a chance to peacefully submit to Mongol rule, but he didn't hesitate to bring down the sword at any society that resisted. Number 6, he was responsible for the death of as many as 40 million people. Number 7, he was tolerant of many different religions, as we mentioned. And unlike many other empire builders, Khan embraced the diversity of his newly conquered territories, passing laws, declaring religious freedom and for all, and even granted tax exemptions for places of worship. And number 8, he created one of the first international postal systems. Along with the bow and the horse, the Mongols' most potent weapon may have been their vast communication network. One of the earliest decrees was Khan involved the formation of a mounted courier service known as YAM. And number 9, no one knows how he died or even where he was buried. While of all the enigmas surrounding the Khan's life, perhaps the most famous concerned how it ended. The traditional narrative says he died in 1227 from injuries sustained from a fall from a horse. But other sources list everything from malaria to an arrow wound to the knee. And number 10, finally, the Soviets tried to snuff out his memory in Mongolia. He's now seen as a national hero, Khan, and founding father of Mongolia. But during the Soviet-era rule in the 20th century, the mere mention of his name was banned. And there you have the top 10 things you may not know about Genghis Khan. All right, back to business. So my question is, what do you think was a key to think about? What do you think was a key to the Mongols' military empire and empire building success? He left quite a legacy, Khan did, Genghis Khan, and the Mongol empire building continued under his grandson, Kublai Khan, who in fact was actually, the empire was at its greatest height during his reign. He toppled the last Song dynastic empire in 1729. Kublai's dynasty, referred to as the Yuan, allowed Chinese officials to continue to rule in the provinces, but only Mongols could serve in the military. So, if his grandfather was a conqueror, his grandson Kublai cultivated and grew the empire. He welcomed people like Ibn Battuta and Marco Polo to his court. Polo's writings about Chinese products, including gunpowder and porcelain, sparked interest and made their way to Europe. Gunpowder and porcelain, as you see listed there. You may receive a visit from Marco Polo later on. So, the Yan dynasty began to decline in 1294, and Zhu Yongzhang formed a rebel army that topped the Mongols. The Ming, or Brilliant Dynasty, was born, as you see on the map listed behind me. Well, the Ming continued to make progress as they were productive farmers and improved the irrigation and canal system, making trade easier and allowing cities to grow. But their trade was limited with Europeans for a cash-only system. Only silver and gold was accepted for goods in high demand like silk tea and porcelain. Unlike the Mongols, the Ming also made a lot of advancements in math and other methods. They were the first to begin to use an abacus. Imagine using that as a calculator. Zhu Zhuangxi led a research program to reform the Chinese calendar. Jesuits from Europe, the Catholic group, lended assistance to the Chinese in using ideas like telescopes to make observations of the heavenly bodies. Well, finally, the glory of the Ming Empire was shown through distant voyages into the sea. Zheng He completed the command of 7 expeditions through Southeast Asia, including through Southeast Asia, India, the Persian Gulf, and East Africa. Unfortunately, Zheng He died in 1435, and with him the end of seagoing for the Chinese. Reasons for this are rather unclear. But one theory that might be important to note is that Confucian scholars, still smarting for Mongol oppression, wanted to protect Chinese traditions. Well, and you can see here at the map behind me, the extent of Zheng He's travels through the tip of Africa, through India, and around. Why he ended these, other than the Confucian scholars wanted to protect Chinese traditions and end that, is still rather unknown. Well, this has been the Dimich Report.